All right, Beyond the Red and Blue is back. And today we're not engaging in partisan rhetoric. Let me be unequivocally clear. My allegiance lies with no specific political faction. The prevailing lack of common sense and the apparent disinterest in genuinely addressing the concerns of the populace are evident across the political spectrum. While they engage in unproductive finger-pointing, progress remains elusive. But I stand here unbought and unyielding. My voice will not be suppressed. I am not a politician. I am one of the 99% committed to championing the welfare of the people. Today we're staring straight into the abyss. Is California, our golden state, actually dying? And if it is, who's got their hand on the lever pulling us down? Gavin Newsom, Karen Bass. Their records, we're about to lay them bare. You want truth? You're about to get it. This isn't just commentary. It's a call for accountability. Let's dive in. Let's begin with Governor Gavin Newsom. His administration has faced intense scrutiny, and for good reason, many argue. Now, to be fair, Newsom has often been willing to stand his ground against a federal administration, even going to court when he feels California's interests are threatened. You can give him credit for that fight, for planting his flag. But here's the thing, you've got to learn to pick your battles. Because while he's busy fighting there, California is bleeding here. One of the most pressing concerns centers on California's finances. As of late June 2025, California lawmakers are scrambling to close a $12 billion deficit for the current fiscal year, with projected deficits for 2025. 6 spiraling even higher, reaching an estimated $17 billion to $24 billion annually. This staggering shortfall comes despite past claims of surpluses, leading many, including State Assembly member Carl DeMaio, to declare a true fiscal crisis. Critics point to significant state spending, an expanded government workforce, and rising salaries as major contributors to this financial strain. Accusations of accounting tricks to obscure the true depth of the state's budget challenges have also been widely raised. The latest budget deal even pares back some progressive priorities, like a landmark healthcare expansion for low-income adult immigrants without legal status, now set to be curtailed starting in 2026. This isn't just about numbers on a spreadsheet. It affects schools, infrastructure, and essential services for every Californian. And while countless Californians struggle to make ends meet, consider this. In November 2024, Newsom's family purchased a luxurious new home in Kentfield, Marin County for a staggering $9.1 million. This residence boasts 6 bedrooms and 5.5 bathrooms. For struggling families and small businesses barely staying afloat, this purchase highlights a stark, painful disconnect between the reality faced by most Californians and the lavish lifestyle of their leader. This financial situation is particularly jarring when the state also saw fit to allocate up to $50 million to Trump-proof California, directing funds to the Department of Justice and local legal services for civil rights, reproductive freedom, and immigrants' rights. It raises a deeply unsettling question of priorities amidst such a significant budget shortfall. Even with 2 jobs, the dream of owning a home in this state remains out of reach for many. The relentless burden of taxes, ever-increasing gas prices, rising food costs, and soaring insurance premiums make it nearly impossible to build equity or secure a mortgage. When leaders live in luxury and allocate millions to political battles, while dedicated individuals are forced to work multiple jobs just to stay afloat, that's not just a disconnect, that's a betrayal of the people they swore to serve. The relentless high cost of living continues to burden California, consistently ranked as one of the most expensive states in the nation. The financial pressure on residents is immense. While various factors contribute, critics contend that state policies, including significant tax hikes and minimum wage increases intended to benefit residents, have inadvertently inflated prices and driven businesses to leave, making it increasingly difficult for average Californians to afford basic necessities, let alone a home. From groceries to utilities, the everyday expenses just keep climbing, pushing families to the brink. Perhaps no issue is more emblematic of the state's struggles than the homelessness crisis. Despite over $24 billion allocated to homeless prevention programs from 2018 to 2022, the tragic reality is that homelessness has largely worsened under Newsom's leadership. As of January 2025, California had a staggering 187,084 homeless people, accounting for 28% of the nation's homeless population, with an alarming 66% unsheltered. While some recent preliminary data for early 2025 indicates potential localized declines in certain areas, the Housing First approach, a cornerstone of his strategy, continues to be heavily criticized for failing to adequately address the underlying issues of addiction and mental illness. Reports suggest that state regulations even impede funding for programs that require sobriety or mental health treatment, trapping individuals in a cycle that is expensive and ineffective. And let's talk about crime. While homicide saw a 14% drop as of April 2025, and overall violent crime decreased, the city's crime rate is still nearly 30% higher than the national average. Business owners feel neglected when repeat criminals are released with minimal consequences, a situation that began to shift only as the Trump administration ramped up deportations, leading many to observe a correlation between increased federal enforcement and a drop in certain crime categories. For small businesses, the feeling is often one of abandonment. Critics, including those on Beyond the Red and Blue, argue that propositions like Prop 47 and Prop 57, both championed by Newsom, have inadvertently hampered law enforcement's ability to deter crime by reducing penalties, making it easier for criminals to reoffend. Businesses struggle to stay open when facing repeated theft, while the focus seems to be on reducing consequences for perpetrators. While Prop 36, approved by voters in late 2024, has somewhat reversed parts of Prop 47 by increasing punishment for certain drug and theft crimes, the debate on their overall impact persists. When leaders advocate for equal rights for everyone, where is the help for businesses struggling to keep their doors open against persistent crime? The high-speed rail project continues to be a poster child for mismanagement. As of June 2025, while the project is reaching new construction milestones with infrastructure projects completed in the Central Valley and track laying expected to begin this year, it continues to draw strong criticism from federal authorities. A Federal Railroad Administration report released earlier this month in June criticized the project for missed deadlines and noted a $7 billion budget shortfall with no credible strategy in place to secure additional funds. Its spiraling costs, consistent delays, and often debated ridership projections make it a prime example of ambitious projects that seem to prioritize grand vision over practical execution and fiscal responsibility. It's a colossal waste of taxpayer dollars with no clear end in sight. And then there's a pattern of new laws and rules that many Californians feel are less about making things better and more about control. Consider the statewide ban on flavored vapes and menthol cigarettes upheld by Proposition 31. While proponents cite public health, many question the my body, my choice principle when it comes to what adults can choose to smoke. Then there are the mandates, the push to force everyone into electric cars, the discussion of limiters on vehicles, and new rules effectively banning gas stoves in new homes. Where was the public vote on these mandates? These sweeping changes are imposed without a clear ballot initiative, leading to the perception that they are top-down decisions, not reflective of the public's will. People can't just easily buy electric vehicles, and they certainly don't want limits on the things they've already spent their hard-earned money on. And since the government claims to champion my body, my choice, where is the choice on what you want to smoke or not smoke? Furthermore, when California is already struggling with electricity grid capacity and power outages, the rapid push for electric vehicles raises serious concerns about the state's ability to handle the increased demand. Some even theorize that the recent closure of oil refineries and subsequent gas price hikes are not coincidental, but rather a deliberate tactic to force the transition to electric vehicles. If people genuinely wanted these changes, why weren't they put to a direct vote on the ballot? The lack of democratic input on such significant lifestyle alterations fuels the argument that these policies are about control, not choice. Let's also talk about the film industry, a cornerstone of California's identity and economy. Once the undisputed home of movies and television, Hollywood is struggling to keep production in the state. Even big-budget movies now often hesitate or actively avoid filming in California due to the ridiculous fees and uncompetitive incentives the state imposes. While new legislation just passed in late June 2025 to increase California's annual film and TV tax credits to $750 million. Becoming the third highest incentive package behind New York and Georgia, the question remains, is it enough? And is it too late? Other states and even countries offer far more generous tax breaks, effectively luring away productions and the thousands of jobs they create. It's a matter of common sense. If California returned to more competitive pricing and reduced its red tape, film production would flood back, allowing the state to once again cash in on this vital industry. But instead, we see a continued bleed of jobs and economic activity, eroding a cultural and economic pillar of the Golden State. Now, let's turn our attention to Los Angeles Mayor Karen Bass, who has also faced significant challenges and criticisms during her time in office. A recent, highly publicized event was the early 2025 Los Angeles wildfires. Bass drew considerable backlash for her travel to Ghana during this major crisis. Her office initially defended her absence, and she maintained being 100% engaged remotely. It was only after relentless public outcry and sustained scrutiny that she finally acknowledged the trip was a mistake, an admission widely perceived as an attempt to quell criticism rather than a genuine acceptance of responsibility. It was painful for many to see footage of her smiling during her trip while parts of her city burned, a stark disconnect only amplified by her prolonged refusal to acknowledge the misstep. This was compounded by scrutiny over her administration's earlier decisions to approve millions in budget cuts to the city's fire department. Reports confirm the LAFD's budget was cut by $17.6 million for the 2025 fiscal year. While Bass maintained these cuts did not impact fire response, former LFD Chief Kristen Crowley directly contradicted her, stating the cuts did impact our ability to provide service. Chief Crowley was later fired in February 2025, citing Crowley's handling of the January wildfires, specifically her refusal to complete an after-action report and the controversial decision to send 1,000 firefighters home on the morning the fires broke out due to a lack of apparatus. This chain of events raises serious concerns about leadership and preparedness. This ties directly into another critical issue: water. During those very fires, we saw the horrifying reality of dry fire hydrants in some areas, forcing firefighters to scramble for alternative sources. This raised a crucial question: if California faces water challenges, why were our water reserves insufficient? While dry hydrants were attributed to overwhelming demand, a 117 million gallon reservoir in the Palisades, Santa Ynez, was empty and offline for nearly a year. This isn't a new problem. Experts acknowledge that intense urban wildfires can quickly strain local water supplies. But the public perception, and the reality in many minds, is that water management has failed. Why haven't we seen more urgency in building additional water storage and conveyance systems, beyond projects like the Sites Reservoir, which face years of delays due to environmental reviews and funding challenges? Despite 2 wet years, state infrastructure has been criticized for failing to adequately capture and store excess water, sending it to sea instead of replenishing aquifers or building new storage. The long-term problem of water availability and storage in California is a major point of concern that goes unaddressed with the urgency it demands. Our firefighters, our homes, and our future depend on it. On the front lines of homelessness, Bass's signature program, Inside Safe, aimed to transition unhoused individuals into temporary hotel accommodations. While early data from the 2025 Greater Los Angeles Homeless Count, released in March 2025, showed a projected 5% to 10% decrease in unsheltered homelessness in the region, the program has been widely criticized for its perceived failures, including low rates of permanent housing placement, restrictive conditions, and a focus primarily on temporary shelter without sufficient integrated services like job placement, mental health support, or drug rehabilitation. Concerns remain about the program's overall effectiveness and the persistent visible signs of the crisis on our streets, highlighting a significant gap between policy and true impact. Public safety in Los Angeles also remains a significant concern, directly impacting businesses. While LA has seen a 14% drop in homicides as of April 2025 compared to 2024, and an overall 14.2% decrease in violent crime across major California cities for Q1 2025, the city's overall crime rate of approximately 3,115 crimes per 100,000 residents, based on 2024 data, is still nearly 30% higher than the national average. Neighborhoods like downtown LA and Skid Row continue to face extremely high crime rates, and property crime has shown mixed results across the city. Just like at the state level, business owners in LA feel neglected when criminals who repeatedly steal are often released with minimal consequences, making it incredibly difficult to operate and survive. And underpinning many of these issues is budget management at the city level. Bass's administration has been criticized for navigating a budget crisis that has reportedly led to cuts in essential city services, including the fire department, even after what some critics point to as substantial contracts and benefits awarded to city employees. It raises serious questions about fiscal priorities within the city's leadership. It's clear that both Governor Gavin Newsom and Mayor Karen Bass are at the helm during a challenging period for California. The criticisms leveled against them, from fiscal management and perceived personal disconnect to homelessness, crime impacting businesses, the decline of the film industry, crucial failures in water management, and new laws seen as mandates rather than choices, are not isolated incidents, but rather interwoven issues that deeply impact the lives of millions. And for those of us who have tried to engage directly, the experience can be deeply frustrating. When you reach out to demand answers, calling, sending emails, trying to connect, only to be met with silence, avoidance, or irrelevant responses, it feels like a deliberate effort to avoid the truth. There's a pervasive sense that they simply won't answer the phone or call back because they are afraid of the truth. When the fires raged in LA, the mayor was abroad and, to many, seemed to be smiling in vacation photos, while the governor, in similar critical moments, has been observed in ways that seemed out of touch. And when credible reports and journalists do manage to call them out, the response is often perceived as gaslighting, or providing answers that simply don't address the core concerns. This consistent lack of transparency and direct engagement only fuels the sense that their leadership is out of touch with the very people they are meant to serve. And to you, Governor Gavin Newsom, personally, I commend you for standing your ground against a federal administration. That takes a certain kind of courage. But where is that courage when it comes to the real, immediate problems facing your state? Where is that fire, that conviction, when it comes to the homelessness crisis, skyrocketing costs, the crumbling infrastructure, the businesses bleeding out, and the crime on our streets? You pick your battles, Governor. It's time you pick the ones that truly matter to the everyday Californians you swore to serve. If you have any self-respect, any integrity, why won't you answer these direct questions? Why do you avoid the truth that Californians are facing every single day? We, the people you serve, deserve honest answers and real solutions, not evasions. This isn't a polite debate. This is a demand for accountability. A demand to know why our state and our largest city are failing under their watch. The Beyond the Red and the Blue mission is to cut through the BS, expose the facts, and show you the real impact on your lives, your businesses, your future. So, what's the answer? At Beyond the Red and the Blue, we believe it's not more control, more taxes, or more empty promises. It's a return to common sense, to transparency, to real accountability. Here's how we fix this. Fiscal responsibility. Stop reckless spending. Prioritize core services like public safety, water, and genuine homelessness solutions. Live within our means. No more accounting tricks or borrowing from our future. Unleash business and fight crime. Cut crippling regulations and bring jobs back. Empower law enforcement. Hold all offenders accountable. For non-citizen repeat offenders, deportation. For citizen repeat offenders, increase jail time. If there's no accountability, expect more crime. Let's put a definitive stop to that cycle of reoffending and neglect. Protect our businesses, because they are the backbone of our communities. Real infrastructure. Build new reservoirs, fix our aging water systems. Stabilize the energy grid before forcing mandates like electric cars that our infrastructure cannot currently support. Invest in what truly matters for a functioning society. Transparency and choice. Leaders must answer to us, not hide behind closed doors or irrelevant talking points. Put major lifestyle changes to a public vote. Demand accountability for failures and celebrate genuine progress. This is the Beyond the Red and the Blue promise. We will keep shining a spotlight. We will keep demanding accountability. We will keep fighting for common sense solutions that put all Americans first. Because until common sense wins, until leaders are truly accountable, America will keep falling. Well, I guess that's all we have for now. And if you have a topic you want me to tackle, please share it in the comment section. Stay safe, stay vigilant, fact check everyone, and as always, I'll catch you on the next one.